All the tea is in the comments, and someone replied back saying, "Oh, effectively, why are you laughing at somebody losing money and kind of explain it to us?" Well, it shouldn't have been so dumb, right?
Yeah, he says, don't know why you have to add the also lol at the end there. Shouldn't glorify vulnerable people being scammed. Let's go. NFT bros losing money is funnier than any of our comics.
I genuinely laughed out loud when I read that first time. It was brilliant. Boom, boom, we are back. This is pod number 57 of your favorite show, the world's most bullish podcast, The 4Bs. And we have a full house as always. Well, not been so recently, right? So he is back, Mr. All In, aka the $1 trillion man, drinking whiskey standard. And we've got the people's champ. That's right, Dr. Evil 10%, and myself, So Never Look, aka the excellence of execution. And she's here, but she's never here. Mrs. No Show, still nowhere to be seen, and absent even from our Signal group, just MIA. I know she is still alive. I've seen her on video.
Yeah, so, got pepper sprayed and beaten by the French police at the European Cup final, but
she did, yes. Yeah.
Still alive. She's still alive.
Yeah. Was she wearing well, sorry, not was she wearing, was she holding a Starbucks coffee at the time?
Yeah. I think she's the one in the background getting pepper sprayed and beaten, but holding it up.
I'm not going to spill this.
Yeah, the chai latte. I'm not going to spill this.
Ticket in one hand, chai latte in the other, like getting beaten by fucking French police.
So just one question for Mr. All In. How was the OnlyFans sale?
What's this referencing? I missed it.
It took you 2 weeks to go through those sign-ups.
Right, yeah. Nah, I've 1 week I had COVID. That was a bit embarrassing. And then
was it COVID?
Yeah, actually was, yeah.
Oh, wow, revelation. We didn't know it was COVID. We just thought he'd contracted herpes again. But no, he's back.
Yeah, I felt a little bit like under the weather, and I was like, oh, I just thought like, I don't know. And then the missus got it as well, and obviously she's pregnant, and she had a test in the house. So we just did it, and then it came up positive. And we're like, oh, well, that's a bit sad. 2 days later, we were both fine. But and then last week was my sister's wedding. So
did you make it rain?
It rained.
It was like champagne and the dollar gun, but with £20 notes in it.
Yeah, I made sure I told them about their wedding present after the wedding, so the free bar didn't get too crazy, because could have all gone up in smoke.
Yeah.
So the wedding present, am I right in assuming that it was Bitcoin related?
Yeah, of course.
And just to tell the viewers, when did you plan this wedding present?
It's back in like 2016.
There we go. Amazing. Amazing.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't realise, Mr. All In doesn't do presents to his family. He does sats.
And if any of them want to come on the podcast and argue and like disagree that they don't like it, you won't find one. They're very, very happy with their like, because I tend to buy them their presents 5-6 years ago, and then
so
and it matures, and it's like, here's that thing I've been holding on to for you for 6 years. They're like, oh shit.
So back in 2016, were you giving out birthday and Christmas presents in sats and Bitcoin?
Not back then. No, I think I started that
shopping at
a year
Woolworths.
later. I think 2017 I started that.
Oh, it's only 2017.
Yeah. And unfortunately, because no one knows how to hold it, I held it for them. So they don't know how to sell. So I So they're kind of forced hodlers. And then a couple of them have come to me now and gone, how much are you holding for me now? Like, what? Shouldn't I be doing something about that? It's like, probably. Yeah.
Well, it is like on my eternal to-do list that we're going to sort out that security podcast, and then you can tell them to listen to that so we can secure their own Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But I need to plan quite a tight agenda for that one so we can run through it.
Yeah. Well, for your family members, there's nothing better than just grabbing a hardware wallet, grab me a laptop and talking them through it. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, I think it's just
exactly what I was just about to say. This Christmas, kids, you're getting more ledgers. But we've already got wallets. I know, but you can never have too many wallets. And this time, I've got you in your new colours as well. So yeah, keep them entertained.
They're funny then, because I bought like so many ledgers and given them so many out. None of them. And then over the years, slowly but surely, people go to buy one and they're like, they're so expensive. They're like £100. I'm like, yeah. And it's like, you've been a Bitcoiner for about 4 years now. How do you not know how much a ledger was? Like, you bought me like 3. I'm like, yeah, because I'm a fucking nice guy. So when I got your Bitcoin, I also enabled you to secure it. They're like, oh, I thought it's like they were like a tenner because you gave me 3 of them. It's like, no, they weren't. That was an expensive part of the gift. I just didn't publicize that bit.
Yeah. We talked about the principles, and it's the amount how much Bitcoin's worth, it's securing it across ledgers and multiple ledgers, depending on how much you've got. But it's also, what it's going to be worth as well. So it's making sure your security is up to standard, and it will be up to standard as well. It's not just having it on your desktop in a folder marked Bitcoin. Lol.
Or even worse, on an exchange, which is where most people's Bitcoin is, as we know.
Yeah, unless it's the free lessons where you've just swapped Polkadot for Bitcoin.
Yeah, having £2.78 on Coinbase, you're not going to cry if that gets stolen from you and Coinbase frees your account. But you got 20 grand in there.
So I'm now having a panic, but I'm pretty sure I moved mine because I left my I'd moved my DCA. I'd left my DCA on there for a while. It all built up over time, even though it's not loads and loads of. Oh yeah, here we go. I've got £5.74 in Coinbase, so I have moved it, or someone's stolen it.
No, you've got your addresses whitelisted, right? So you can only send out to like a couple of addresses. So
yeah, it's on Pro, so I think you've got to do it.
Yeah. Or is it actually mandated now?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. So yeah,
very hard to get your Bitcoin stolen now, isn't it? Because I think it takes 14 days something to get another address whitelisted. So someone have to hack you, add a whitelisted account, wait 14 days. You've obviously had text messages and emails telling you another address has been added. You would know you hadn't added it, could go in and go, fuck off. You've got 2 weeks to figure that out.
I've had them because I tend to do my DCA when we're on the pod because I always forget because it just transfers to the account and it's not automatic. And I just haven't done it the last 2 weeks. So I've got 3 weeks DCA, which I've just purchased some sats.
And 3x?
Yeah. So I now have more than just
the price got up yet. You're going to move the price.
It's probably been a good thing that you've been away, Mr. Rowland, as well, because that clock would have been painful to look at for the hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh, painful for the week.
Yeah. Well, having seen it where a different, nearly in the 50s, I think. We're normally in 50s, late 40s.
I don't want to get a clock at the moment because otherwise I get my wife questioning me about it all the time. So I need us to go for another cycle. So maybe in 4 years' time, I'll get a Bitcoin clock, but maybe I'll want to hide it more by that point.
Yeah.
It probably should be like, oh, but we could do this with the house, or we could do this, or we could buy a new house. I'm like, no, we are not moving ever.
We're waiting until that says infinity.
Yeah. You need an updated and upgraded clock because the figures will be needed to be a lot larger as well. You need more zeros on the end.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ben may consider to move, but certainly not before then. Do we want to kick off with the first story? So I think we are going that way anyway. So apparently we need to be more toxic, according to this Twitter user. Ooh, who could this be?
Who could it be? Who?
So do you want to talk us through this, Mr. All-In?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So this is, so it's my reply to Nick Carter. So Nick Carter is quite a big Bitcoiner, but the thing is, he's not really. He gets a lot of kind of free passes, but he does shitcoin a lot. And this tweet he says here kind of exposes he is also a shitcoiner. So his tweet is, Terra gave the mainstream media 10 years worth of fantastic ammo to beat us up with. The dollar stable promise, retail losses, fintechs putting client assets in, VCs dumping the top and thumping their chests. It is what it is. Historical L, and yes, we deserve it. Totally failed to self-police. So that's his tweet. But then my reply is just, so what you're saying is people should have been more toxic to stop these foolhardy, scammy projects doomed for failure. Weird that I know a few Bitcoiners who were doing that and who were told to be nicer. Look how that ended up. And that's, it's kind of like the two tweets kind of say it all, right? It's like he's seemingly going, oh, we kind of messed up. We should have policed ourselves better. The toxic Bitcoin maximalists have been policing the fucking whole crypto space since 2009 when Bitcoin got launched and the first shitcoin comes spawning out of the mother arsehole that is Ethereum or Litecoin, probably is the one.
I think it was XRP because I looked into this for work and I think
Litecoin was first.
Okay, I put XRP in. I think that was a lot earlier than I actually realized, and then it went to Ethereum. But kind of like thinking about this, so putting it into financial world, it's kind of like, it's almost like comparing, I don't know, stocks and shares. So like your Facebook, Microsoft versus, you have to excuse whatever the name is. Is it a derivative for the housing market back in 2008, which was stacked full of, well, dodgy mortgages? You know, that's how it feels to me. Like you've got something which actually undermines a company's value versus these, you know, like, what is it, grade D and E level mortgages. This is what it feels like. You know, you're comparing something which is the value of a functioning company versus something which is, well, utter shit and no one would buy it in their right conscious mind.
Yeah. I think to be honest, I think it's even worse than that because that was bad debt. Yeah. So that's different grades of debt. And they were wrapping up B, C, D type debt and pretending it was AAA. And it clearly wasn't. And that's why the whole housing market fell, just imploded. But like shitcoins, like Bitcoin maximalists, like we go around telling people why these shitcoins will fail. And it's for a multitude of reasons, but fundamentally it comes down to two. And it'll be incompetence because the code will just break and it won't fundamentally deliver on what it's meant to do and they'll get hacked. Or number two will be corruption and the founders will exit scam. It will be one of the two. And it's just play it over a long enough time frame and we'll be right. One of those two things will happen, incompetence or corruption. And because they're centralized, none of them are decentralized, they all centralized. And when we look at Terra/Luna, which is this one, which everyone's talking about, which one was this? Well, it looks like it was incompetence. Like the guy didn't purposefully exit scam from the looks of it, although there are some very suspicious big cells. It looks like someone just found a hack in it and they exploited and took 30 billion out the back door. This is what we say every single shitcoin, and every single shitcoin pretty much over the last pretty much 10 years, one of those two things has happened, a hack or like a rug pull from the founders. And we have been screaming this from the rooftops. And when someone as prominent as Nick Carter goes, oh, we need to be better at self-policing, every Bitcoiner just like wants to hit their head against the wall and go, for fuck's sake, how much do we need to scream scam from the top of our voice that you're going to lose all your money? And now you're going, oh, we should have said it clearer. Like, dude, no, don't push accountability onto us. Like, we were very clear saying that these shitcoins are going to go to zero. Bullshit.
But it's thinking about the shitcoins. It's, you know, it's what's the principle behind them. You know, like some of them, I can't remember which one it is. It's like, oh, it does smart contracts. Is smart contracts really something which is actually going to hold value, or is it just a piece of technology which could be used on top of some, you know, sound money? And that's what I kind of look at. What is the principle behind this cryptocurrency? Because it should be something which you're using as a medium of exchange. So what do you want in a medium exchange? You want it to be non-inflationary. You want it to be decentralized. You want it to be secure. You know, most probably three, most can't even hit those, can they? They're not decentralized.
Well, it just falls down straight away when it's not decentralized, and there's an owner and there's somebody to be able to point back to, because they can either be coerced or greed kicks in. And ultimately, that is where it's always going to fail, no matter what the technology is behind it. You were talking about earlier on the crash before. It was mortgage-backed securities in the subprime housing market.
I know I've read about it a lot lately.
Yeah, that was definitely a crash. But one of the things that I want to think about, and we were just talking about prior to going live, is why isn't anyone questioning where that 30 billion has now gone to? Everyone's just kind of walked away, obviously licking their wounds, but no one's actually really saying, hold on here, I had that money, and that money is was given from me to that company.
I think Mr. Orlean gave quite a good answer to that one. It's because the people who are scammed out of it are basement dwelling plebs covered in pizza and jizz.
No one cares when they lose money.
Yeah.
But it's even worse than that. Like, not only is there not accountability, he's already launched Luna 2.
Yeah.
And that's down 80% again.
It's like that, is it Goofy or something like that Goofy meme? I'll fucking do it again.
Yeah. I'll fucking do it again. Yeah.
But most of these shit coins, like I see it, is almost like something which you put on top of some money. So it's like I don't know if you call it layer 2. It's it's like a layer surrounding Bitcoin. It's nowhere near the main chain.
It's the casino.
But it's something which you put up here, which then locks the Bitcoin on a big transaction. So it's a smart contract. It's not a separate coin. It's just I just don't get why people buy these things apart from as pure speculation.
So we're really, really gullible. There's a series on Netflix where there's a bunch of things which they go through, like people falling in love and so forth. But the art of the scam has been one of the things that has been in history since the beginning of time. And no matter how simple it is to see, we fall for it every time.
So you tell me that Nigerian gentleman who was telling me that I'd won the Spanish lottery was not telling the truth?
Yes, Prince Nabutu is not real, my friend. No matter how many times he emails you, he's not real.
No. The thing is, like, I get literally 30 emails a day. I'm about to change my phone number because I get 3 phone calls a day as well from scammers. So the fact that they are so prevalent to ring me and email me, because obviously my details have been leaked in various exchange hacks.
But it's updating everything. It's the updating everything, isn't it?
Wives in the area wanting to date you.
I answer those calls, and the chicks are not hot. Dude. But literally, I answered the call the other day just for lols. I answered a call from one of them and just went, let's just see what this one is. And they were trying to get me to invest in this random art investment scam. And they were pretending they were representing this artist. I was Googling her and she was legit, but I know they didn't represent her. I know they didn't have any of her artwork. And they were trying to get me to put a shit ton of money into backing her artwork. And they're like, this will beat inflation. It's like they had all the keywords. They knew what they were saying. And I'm just like, and at the end of the call, I'm like, are people that stupid? Can you sleep at night? And they just the phone call just went off. They realized that, they've been called out. But yeah. So if people are going to do that, these scams are much more you deserve it on these scams because they just market it and then you freely buy it. They're not even directly calling you. You're going on there and buying this shit.
Yeah, I remember some of my friends in one of the groups were telling me, I think they asked me how Bitcoin's doing when we had a bit of a dip a while back. And I said, well, I just slated, well, it's going to have ups and downs while it's in discovery. But then he went on to NFTs trying to say about art. And I'm like, it's not fucking art. Art should be hard to make, take time, and by someone who's skilled, who's built up a craft over years. And it's just an NFT, it's just an absolute piece of shit. Yeah. Especially when it looks like Leisure Suit Larry from the 80s.
But yeah, one of the reasons why I put this on there is because we've had this discussion on here, I think it's probably nearly a year ago, where it was about Bitcoin or like toxic Bitcoin maximalist, and how it had like a bad rap. Like being toxic is a negative trait of Bitcoiners. And now that we're seeing, like, because obviously, like when we first probably started this pod, we're in a bull market, and all the shitcoiners were laughing. Some of them were making more money than Bitcoin, and they were loving it. And we're still there being toxic, and we're getting called out for being toxic, and we're pushing people away from Bitcoin and And in reality, our defense was just, no, these are active scams. Like, and we're kind of losing our like wits end. Like we try and explain to people properly about scarcity, decentralization, and how sound money exists, and why Bitcoin is the only true use case for a blockchain. Everything else is just absolute bollocks, and it's literally a scam or just a marketing ploy to make the founders money. But then eventually, once you have like 4 conversations like that and they're still going, you end up just going, have fun staying poor. And they're like, oh, you're so toxic. But now we're in a bear market, and they've lost 99.99% of their wealth. Bitcoin is down 60%, but the difference between 60% down and 99.99 is the difference of, it's fucking everything, right? It's like
I'd just like to point something out quickly there. You're not down if you don't sell.
Yeah, true. True. I suppose if you consider your wealth in sats, you're not down at all. You're exactly. Yeah. If anything, you'll be up because you've still been DCAing.
And if your wife asks you anything about how Bitcoin's doing, just say it's fine.
I've got the same amount of sats. Got more sats than I had yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's but the serious point behind it is there's been like loads of suicides all over Twitter, like people in Taiwan, and I saw a guy in Australia. Like they're jumping out of their freaking apartment blocks and just splatting on the floor because they've invested too much in shit coins, and then they all get wrecked and they lose everything. And it's sad to see.
And more as well. And I think again, we were speaking about this, is that we're now living a time where we can see this more because of social media. Dan was here today, gone tomorrow, because he's obviously done what he's done. And people will record it, upload it, send it out to all their friends and family, and then everything is shown to everyone. Now, we really, really need to be mindful of, the research, the level of research that we do into this. And you should not be trusting of anything that we're saying. You should go out, try to verify everything. But naturally, every week we upload what we say into the show notes, and you can read through it all. So yeah, just be careful out there, because it's a lot easier to get scammed.
I take offense to you saying you shouldn't trust everything which you say, because there's something which we say every week by Bitcoin. Trust that.
Yeah, definitely don't listen to our episodes of misinformation, but definitely listen to the phrase of just buy Bitcoin.
So, Mr. All-In, have you listened to the last 2 weeks' episodes?
Listened to 2 weeks ago. I listened to the latest one.
Okay. I was just wondering if you'd picked up bits of misinformation in there.
No, everything. You guys are good now. You guys are good. I realized that on like misinformation, I think 1 and 2 when I wasn't here. And I was like, no, you guys are good, man. It's like you see articles the same way as I do now. Like when we were first talking about this stuff probably a couple of years ago, you were seeing it different. You were seeing it still with a fiat mindset. Now you see it with a Bitcoin mindset, and it's literally once that button gets clicked, your brain works the same now. As all Bitcoiners think the same.
But I was messaging. It's someone who I know through my daughter is basically one of her friend's dads, and got into quite a lot about Bitcoin, but he's been a bit of a shit coiner. And but anyway, I said, the problem with like when you get into it more and more is you end up with this kind of like understanding the ins and outs of economics and finance, and you realize how bad it is. And when you hear a bit on the news, your initial reaction is something which is literally the polar opposite of what everyone else is thinking within the fiat world. But I have to keep a lid on it at home because of what my wife thinks I'm absolutely batshit crazy. So I just have to keep it retained in. and it is a bit of a problem because we're going to go into a couple of stories this week, and I think everyone's going to be like, "What's the problem?"
Yeah.
Well, let's start it off. And what could be bigger than them all than the World Economic Forum, the Global Government Summit, and how they make decisions on our everyday lives when you actually don't really know about it. Now, when I clicked on this link, oh my gosh, I thought, what have I stumbled across here? It's actually called rebelnews.com. And as I was scrolling through on the right hand side, I saw that picture of Klaus and "We have Ways." That T-shirt. I think I might need that T-shirt.
What do you mean? Is it the Senator Palpatine top which he's wearing?
No, it's a T-shirt that is being sold. Purchase on World Economic Forum merch today from the Rebel News store. It's just a classic picture of Klaus and his phrase, "We have ways."
We have ways of making you talk.
Oh God, I've just seen that at the bottom. Brilliant.
Yeah. So if you,
I think this was one which I think I dropped into the group. Where it was on Twitter, and it was the fact that the local police, is it in Davos? It's Greece, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's in Switzerland.
No, Switzerland.
Okay, sorry. And they had patches over where it should say like the police force, so like the county or town. I don't know what they do in Switzerland, but it had WEF police on it, and it.
Did you watch the video that I put in the group in reply to that? Because where they're interviewing an actual police officer going, "What is that WEF badge about?"
I did, but I can't remember now, to be perfectly honest.
Because they're basically going, "Are the WEF police?" And they go, "No, but you can sign up to be a WEF police if you paid for the badge." And he's like, the guy is like going, like joking with him, going, "Oh, didn't Klaus pay for the badge for you?" And here they went, "I can't tell you why they're different, but it's a perception thing, and the badge means something, but it's tactics, it's police tactics that I can't tell you." And it's just, and so it's literally like we know what it is. It's like they're positioning themselves as a more superior police to the normal police, creating a global police force.
So it's like it's almost a bit like the Freemasons for people putting the patch on men. Is it Freemasons, the Masons?
Yeah, the Freemasons. Yeah. And I think it's a little bit of a selection thing, right? They're going to the police, going who wants to be part of it, and they're sussing out for compliance. Obviously, if you're already a policeman, then you're already going to be quite compliant to the state. But who's really fucking compliant? Who really wants to wear the WEF badge? And who wants to pay like 50 euros for it or whatever and be part of this group? And they almost like they're self-selecting. Like, these are the boys that are going to do anything for us. When we tell them that guy's not wearing a mask, go beat him and throw him in a cage, they're going to obey. And it's like,
I think the masks have gone now. I think it's going to be something else. But it seems like nothing. I think it's a storm in the teacup. It's nothing. Everything's fine.
It's so weird though, isn't it? Right? Like, literally, like, I still remember that time when you asked me, like, when would you admit that like the WEF is harmless? I'm like, the day that they seem to just be doing what they say they're doing and taking a step back, and like the more time that goes by, the more they're just playing in to like the whole prediction of what they're trying to do. But
it's literally like, it's like a caricature from James Bond.
Yeah,
it's literally ridiculous how far it looks like he wears that like sentient Palpatine robe, and he preaches to people how they should live.
I don't get exactly that. You're absolutely right. But he's also predicting how people will live when he won't be there in the future to see how they live. He's so old.
Well, he might be like the Emperor, might live off souls or whatever he does. I mean, that's what they did in Indiana Jones, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he looks like one of those Nazi baddies.
Yeah,
I mean, and there's history in that family as well, because his father, I read it on Twitter, obviously I can't verify because it's nowhere online. But his father was some high-ranking Nazi. But I think there's
live through an old age?
But I think there's a full fact saying no, he wasn't, even though he moved in about 1938 to Germany from Austria.
Right.
No evidence there.
It's it's just that the whole like Davos thing is super. I don't know if you saw, like, there's some things on Rebel News where there was an influencer that they managed to get, and he's a super popular influencer. He does 1-minute videos every single day about his life, and he went to Davos, and it was like 3,000 of the smartest brains are here. They're discussing all the big issues like climate change, pandemics. It's amazing. And one of the Rebel News guys got him and just went, you paid to be here. And he's like ran off down the street. So, dude, why are you running? Like, we know what's happening here. We know they are literally influencing social media, and they're getting key influencers. They're paying them to give them good media by paying them to be there and giving them positive coverage, because they know the coverage that they day-to-day get on the news and stuff. The youngsters aren't watching that stuff. So they're getting these YouTubers and stuff to come cover the event and make sure it's positive, and paying them, and they're running off. And these Rebel News guys are exposing them. I think they also exposed the fact that there was something like 1,000 private jets all parked up in Switzerland. And
no, I think that was I think that's a shot from COP 26, whatever it was, the climate change one back in the start of the year. So I think that's a shot from there. It's just someone taking a piss.
Oh, is it? I did think I saw an article on Rebel News though where it was the record number of private jets at any event.
To be fair, the type of person who goes to that, it does fit in. So, but I thought it was just a reused picture from Glasgow.
Oh, okay. Maybe the picture was reused, but
it kind of feeds into the next one. Kind of like that point about the carbon and everything else, because there is going to be an element of that, because there's going to be limousines, there's going to be private jets, there's going to be private yachts as well involved in getting there for all these billionaires and millionaires and whatever else they are.
Well, is anybody, because one of the reporters that went out there was a lady called Savannah Hernandez. Have you seen her? Journalism student. Pretty hot.
Yeah.
I'll just leave you on that note.
Is she part of Rebel News, or she's like?
Yes, she's part of Rebel News.
Okay. I've probably seen her on the things then. Yeah. She's really good as well. Is she the Asian one?
Yeah.
She's really good. She really very switched on, very good at asking questions, and she obviously has she's not trying to make them look good. She's genuinely trying to ask very pointed questions, as in what's going on here.
Correct.
And yeah, so this is the psychopaths. So we've got a link here to a Reddit post, which is the psychopaths of private jets use CBDCs to track your carbon footprint. In other words, everything you do. I'd say a little 20-second clip, so I was going to play it.
Developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
So there it is.
There it is. Yeah.
And they're pitching this as a good thing.
Correct.
Well, this is the point. Why would you need that baked into money? So that's a key question here. Is it's like, okay, you want to store that. I was sent a link by someone I work with about a year and a half ago about carbon footprints, and you could just enter in what your day-to-day is. And if you really want, I'm pretty sure there's an app out there where you could literally log in your day by day, what you've eaten, the plastic wrapping, how much far you've driven, what clothes you wear, how many times you've worn them, and so on. So you can cycle through what your carbon footprint. But why would it need to be in your money?
I know, especially when the killer stat always that I always use on this is that the top 100 corporations are responsible for 70% of the carbon emissions on the planet. So if you want
what happens with that CEO? Does he get tied down to his house and only allowed to eat soy?
Exactly. And like in reality, like to a certain extent, who cares about the CEO? It's just, are you going to stop the company doing the emissions or what? Because doing this and tracking literally what you just said then is the things you're doing, where you're traveling, the things you eat. There's like literally when we've been like talking, it's always been a conspiracy theory that they're going to say, you've had one steak this month, you can't have another, you need to eat the bugs. Everyone's like, oh, tinfoil hat, idiot. They're literally on stage saying it as a positive, going, we're going to be tracking everything someone does. And when you start to go above certain measures, you're going to be banned from buying the next thing. It won't be to buy the steak.
It could be measures, but it could be you earn privileges as well, or you get privileges taken away from you for bad behavior. So, putting pods like this together, it could be
absolutely.
You haven't waved your WEF flag today, so you can't eat meat today. So it's a reward system. It's literally what you'd have for kids, like a star chart, which I have for my kids for good behavior. They want to give that to an adult population.
Yeah. And they want you to behave in a certain way, to do certain things, and obviously not do other things. And I'll go so far as to say that this is actually linked to tax as well, because they can easily tax the money that you are paid from your job by using CBDCs through your carbon footprint. If you were to drive to a certain destination, and obviously the emissions that you use, we'll tax you on that. It's a lot easier to tax you if you use too much electricity and so forth and so on. So there's lots of various different instances that digitally they can quickly say that you've not behaved, and therefore we can punish you through your carbon footprint. But spinning it in a good way that, well, if we don't do it, you're ruining the planet. So you've got a choice. You've got a choice as to whether or not you want to comply with what we're saying, or you don't have to comply, but you'll just have to pay a little bit more, and that's your punishment. But really, it's an extra added tax.
Yeah.
So is Davos by a big lake? Is that what it is in Switzerland? I don't really know the area, or is it?
It's a little town. Yeah.
So I'm just having a quick look on Google Maps. So there's a lake nearby. It's in Switzerland. So people have flown in. They may have gone in a private yacht, gone around the Mediterranean, then like taxied or flown the last bit by helicopter or whatever. So we think about these. Do you say 3,000 people? So majority of those are going to be private jets. They're going to be private yachts. So private jet. What's the average amount of people on a normal plane? It's roughly about 100. So private jet, it's going to be 1 to 2 for their purpose. So literally that person for going in, if they're sharing their mate, it's 50 times more pollution than someone's used. But if they're using a private jet, how often are they going to fly per year? Because most people will fly once or twice a year, whereas these people are going to be flying at least once a week. So obviously you've got another multiple. So it's 50 times they've already done, but it's another 50 times based upon the frequency. So we're now up to, 250, 2,500 more pollution than the average person just on a private jet. And then they're going to have a private yacht. So a private yacht, if you want to run one, an estimate which I came across is you need £400,000 of fuel per year. Jesus. Do you know how much I spend on my car per year? Around about £800.
That's an 400,000 pounds, like in pounds.
Yeah, not dollars. So if you do that by $1.80 roughly, that's how much it'll be in terms of liters.
Jesus Christ.
So in order to just have the engine running, I think it pisses more fuel my car does all year within an hour. And to actually put it into moving, it's obviously a lot more. So to get up to, 10, 15 knots. So you got to think about these people who are preaching everything to the yachts, the planes. Their kind of carbon footprint is going to be, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000 times more than yours. Yeah, you're listening to them. And these people aren't willing to reduce their lifestyle. This could have been a Zoom call, which they were doing, but instead they've gone to Davos.
Yeah.
But sorry, I was just going to say, if you were looking for Savannah Hernandez, like I was, to follow her, she's been suspended by Twitter. And and then there's also another person who you, in the article that you sent, was he there? No, he wasn't named as because he said, Rebel News sent our fearless Australian reporter Avi Yemeni, Lewis Brackpool, Jeremy Lofredo, Rukshan Fernando, Sophie Corcoran, and then Savannah Hernandez. But there was also somebody else that has been or gone there, a guy called Jack Posobiec, and he's been detained by the Davos police outside the by Swiss police. Sorry. So. Yeah, they're clamping down on those telling and saying and spraying the real news.
Yeah, because we know, like the whole climate change thing, they want us to get into the weeds of it, but it's a psyops. It's the same reason they attack Bitcoin on this grounding. It's just a reason to attack, and it's a reason to bring in CBDCs. They'll bring it under the guise of climate change, and they want us to get into the weeds and start debating climate change with them. But in reality, we know why they are doing it. The real reason why CBDCs are coming in is because they need to reboot fiat. They need a great reset. And once they do that, they need total control because they know there's going to be rebellion. So whenever people then rebel, they need to be able to easily punish people and get them in line. That is why this is happening. Control. They're going to put it under the guise of saving the planet. They don't give a fuck about the planet. As already said, 70% of the pollution comes from 100 companies. You gave a shit. You would spend trillions of dollars on fixing those 100 companies, and we're fine. Why are they focusing on plebs like us who do fuck all? As an individual, we do fuck all.
Well, as I just said, these people at the Davos, they're polluting probably 1,000 times more than you and I, yet you're listening to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've actually pulled up the webpage and shared it amongst us. So as an approximate guide, a yacht of 70 meters will consume about 500 liters of diesel an hour. So what does my car take? I forgot what it is. Is it 50 liters? Yeah. I fill it up probably every 3-4 weeks.
500 liters an hour.
Yeah, so they're literally within an hour, they're using what my yearly usage pretty much. Yet they're telling me off.
Oh my God, yeah. Within this month, the average overnight cruise of 12 hours could cost £24,000.
Wow.
Just when I ever thought that maybe I'll get a yacht one day, I'm like, no, just fucking like I can't afford to fuel that fucker.
Not without asking for everyone chipping in on this.
I know, like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, like £24,000 for
and on top of that, you've got the plane. So if you've got a private jet,
what's crazy? Sorry, this article's from 2015 as well. It's 7 years old, so you can probably double all these.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Wow.
So the amounts, monetary amounts. I was going on the liters of diesel, but yeah, if you go to the planes as well, it's 50 times less occupancy, down from 100 people down to 1 or 2. And then the frequency is going to be up 50 as well, because they're going to be doing 100 flights or so a year. And like I said, people are listening to them. I remember when COP26 happened and my wife was going, oh, this is terrible. I'm like, I said, I'm not listening to these people who fly on private jets and have private yachts. They're trying to tell me what to do. They should have got on a chartered plane, got on with all the other plebs if they're preaching to us, and it should have been a Zoom call even. But yeah, they're telling you about climate change, but they all flew there on private jets. it's the most basic thing, but no one seems to see this.
Really, it does seem to get quite widely publicized, but then whatever comes out, the key talking points of we need to do X, Y, Z to save the planet sticks. So the event always gets chastised, but what comes out of the event becomes policy. It's a very weird contradiction.
Well, here's something interesting at the Reddit thread. So it was a claim, and they all seem to back it up, is who made the term carbon footprint?
Yeah, no idea.
A big clue is it's a term which fits a consumer, so you and I, and not a company.
Oh, because it's got the word foot in it.
Yeah, foot, yes.
Yeah, so because it's about us, so it's obviously shaped by industry. BP. So BP came up with this to shift the blame from them to us.
Interesting.
That's nice. That's again, it's all about marketing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can't say, oh shit, it's our fault, but you kind of buy it, even though we've made a dependence on it, and we keep on destroying all the sustainable stuff which comes along by buying it, and then making sure it never sees the light of day because oil's too profitable for us.
Yeah, it's always our fault. I saw the CEO of Pfizer saying the reason why COVID's still around is because people don't get vaccinated and aren't masking properly. Nothing to do with the fact your vaccine's a crock of shit and masks don't work. No. It's our fault. It's our fault. Even though he's made billions off it. Like every time, whenever something that these big organizations do and then it doesn't work, they go, it's your fault. But you've linked the carbonfootprint.com here, Mr. Nebula.
Yes. So again, I thought I think in the future this will become mandatory for people to somehow put in their carbon footprint, and for their carbon footprint to be calculated and then shared with others. So when you do so, you will be asked all about, obviously, where you live, calculating, just put in as an individual, your flights per year, your house, if you travel on bus or rail, and then also secondary things like clothes, what medicine that you might use, food and drink, of course, television, radio, equipment, furniture. All of it is calculated, and it will give you an overall result. And that overall result will effectively mean this is obviously what your carbon footprint is, but you are then tasked, no doubt, to lower that. So that will mean less enjoyment in terms of purchasing those things, or obviously your electricity consumption within your house, your gas consumption, and so forth. And of course, your travel. So you will be given a quota, I'm sure, of this is within the allowance. Like, who says that this is the allowance, And then from there, you will have to adhere to it. And if you don't, you'll be made to pay for it.
Yeah. I think you were saying this before, right? It's just going to end up being another tax, right?
100%.
Because I just typed in some random numbers into this website.
I think it's beyond that. I don't think it's just another tax. I think it's control.
Oh, yeah. This will be probably the first evolution of it. Well, you'll have another tax line on your paycheck though, and it'll say carbon tax on it. And yeah, I agree. It's going to escalate to be communism, which is horrendous. But yeah, I just typed in let's just say I did 80 tons of CO2, and I don't know how much that is. No idea. But according to this website, I now have to, in my global portfolio, do £720, and I can do a monthly subscription. I can literally add this to a basket. I have to do £1,500 worth of UK tree planting. I have to do £1,200 of reforestation in Kenya, £760 in the Americas, £800 into community projects.
How about I buy some seeds and plant them somewhere?
And it's so weird though, right? Because Elon even has called out these whole carbon credits and stuff. It's the whole thing's a nonsense. Like if you're going to pollute the planet, then you've polluted it. Like kind of planting a few trees over there doesn't really fix the fact that you polluted it over here. Like it's a plaster on the wound. Like it's just, no, the wound needs stitches, or like don't cut yourself in the first place. So if people really cared, the websites like this are just, we need to be kind to the planet in the first instance. If we really cared, like planting a few trees and just paying money. It says, and it always comes down to it, right? Where whenever you can pay your way out of it, I'm always suspicious, because for the rich, they can just pay it, right? No matter what this is, like, because that's a lot of money. Like what I just added up there was about $5,000. So for $5,000, I can now be carbon neutral according to this website.
Yep.
For the average person, that's going to hurt them. For the average millionaire, that's just a weekend away. So now the millionaire can fly around, do whatever they want, pay their $5,000, and they can be golden. And for the average person, they're screwed. And I just get very suspicious. And it's like, are these people really doing what they're saying? Are they really planting these trees? Is it really carbon neutral? Because whenever I've looked at the real stats of like the carbon kind of footprint and the carbon inputs and outputs of the planet, when you zoom out, I think if you zoom in and look at the last 200 years, it's a straight graph upwards, and you go, oh shit, this looks bad. If you zoom out over like 200,000 years, it just goes up. It's just like it's a roller coaster, up and down. Like the planet heats and cools every 100,000 years, and at the moment we're on an uptick. And it's just, are humans contributing? Like maybe, yeah, probably, but the planet warms up every 100,000 years anyway. It's just, it was going to do it anyway. So planting a load of trees going to change that? Probably not. Just looks like another tax for poor people to take money off them.
Yeah. And there's no way out of it. I mean, it's essentially just like the emissions tax in London, right?
Yeah.
It will effectively become an emissions tax everywhere. It starts there, but I believe it will expand to other cities, major cities.
Yeah.
Should we go on to the next story?
Yeah.
Bitcoin lesson. What happens if the WEF attack Bitcoin and manage to fork it to proof of stake? So this was a question that you asked, Dr. Evil 10%, which is
so this started from, it was a conversation which Mr. Orlin commented, then I responded. So it was Dennis Porter saying he feels that the WEF is going to become pro-Bitcoin. And Mr. Orlin saying, what? They hate Bitcoin and they ever pretend to love it. They will try and destroy it from the inside. I said, the plan will be to get inside, to change it to proof of stake, then buy a stack with printed money and change the rules. Voila. You destroy Bitcoin. And I got a reply from the ever helpful Bitcoin slut, who said, why would miners change to POS? Rhetorical. I said, you would hope that Bitcoiners have a sound enough understanding. However, new miners appear to have been planted brainwash, and that would be a threat. In theory, you need the consensus of the core devs and miners in the exchanges, but then nobody would buy the coins if the rules would change. Ethereum is technically a threat, but use case is different. My response was, I may be being arrogant, but I don't think Flickr is a threat. Would it be a numbers game with the miners and core devs? The miners' numbers game would be to cause a thought to new rules, but we've been through that in 2017. So basically, I messaged Mr. Orlin because I wasn't too confident, but I thought my thinking was correct. That basically, if you loaded the network with a load of miners, they could outvote who's there already, because you've got, with the WEF and governments, you've got unlimited money. You can afford to do this. They could buy shitloads of miners and break the network fundamentally, switch it to proof of stake and go, yeah, this is our global currency. And they've got the stack and they get in. Now it's not 21 million. It's, they've made it so it's not visible on the chain. So you don't know how many Bitcoin there are. And there's now 60 million and they own 39 million of them. So therefore they have the deciding vote, or whatever, or how many they need. So I was asking Mr. Orlin, how, what's possible in that? So it was understanding, you know, whether it's, so I had it in my head that it was like 51%, but you were saying it's 91%.
Yeah, to get a contentious fork through. So for any fork of Bitcoin, so we talked about forks on Bitcoin here before. So we've had SegWit, which enabled Lightning, and then we've had Taproot recently. To get those two through, we needed 90% consensus to push that forward. If you only have 89%, it doesn't go forward. So this is the difference between controlling a network for longevity or controlling a network for a very small period of time. Because the 51% attack enables you to take control of the Bitcoin blockchain for like one block. Okay. So for a 10-minute period. So if you manage to control all the miners for one block, it means you can do a double spend. So I could essentially like send you $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. But because I've got all the miners, I could send it to you, make you think you've got it, give me $1 billion worth of something on the side, and then in that 10 minutes, reverse the transaction. So that's the 51% attack. But to actually change the protocol forever, so to change it to proof of stake or to change the supply, you need 90%. So the problem is, like her original point of Bitcoin slut there is it would never happen. It's rhetorical, which is probably is kind of fair. It probably is going to be like, yeah. But I like the thought process of going, well, let's just assume they do. Let's assume the WEF, with their infinite money, do hire a load of very smart people and set up a shit ton of Bitcoin nodes and Bitcoin miners and do get 90% and fork Bitcoin to proof of stake. Now what?
Yeah.
I like just going through that. I don't think it could happen, but there's a small chance it could. So what happens? Because Bitcoin has been literally moved to proof of stake. They got 90% consensus because they made billions and billions and billions worth of miners and nodes.
So if you think about it, they could print shitloads of money, buy the mining equipment straight away, get it built up,
like confiscate it,
and then we end up in a massive, recession on the back of it 2 years later. But they've done it. They've got it all set up and basically take us from the inside. So I know the answer to this one because we had the brief discussion across Signal. But I'd be interested to hear Sir Neverlook's thoughts.
Yeah, well, I just think that ultimately I'd like to think there's too many good miners that wouldn't ever be corrupted.
But say if there's I don't know, 10,000 miners out there, and the WEF gets all the governments to print a shitload of money, and they buy 200,000 miners.
Yeah.
So now it's what's that going to be? It's like 95% of the miners in the world now belong to the WEF.
Yeah, you just assume it's happened. It's happened. 90% of the miners are controlled by the WEF. Now what? That's the thought, like the game theory we're going through here.
Well, I guess ultimately, are they prepared to not only put that money in, but are they prepared to waste that energy, which is the key thing, which Michael Saylor always talks about? Because with Bitcoin,
they got unlimited money.
It's the computational energy, isn't it, that they're going to then to put
so
into
you think
it.
Those 200,000, they'll I don't know, take over some shitty country like Canada, who's got lots of hydro dams, and they'll also just ban electricity for a weekend.
Yeah, they own the power
for Canada.
Station.
Yeah, and they own Trudeau as well, so they can do it in Canada.
Yeah, they got free energy, and they've got a shit ton of miners. They have 90% of the miners now, and they're running it on free energy. And they forked Bitcoin, so BTC now is proof of stake. So they've broken it essentially, and they have control of Bitcoin. So what happens is
Bitcoin will still continue to go on regardless. So yes, you can have this fork, but the true Bitcoin will still continue because the code
the official
Bitcoin that has been written can't change or won't change fundamentally. It will still remain the same until 2140.
Yeah, so that'd be like the secondary fork, which it would remain the same. So the primary would be the WEF,
Yeah.
That would be the official, but you're right.
And
but
then it will take for everybody to trust the new fork, but naturally, being true Bitcoiners, we won't trust it because it's like since 2009 and when Satoshi wrote the white paper, before actually going ahead and obviously issuing the first block, you could have copied what Bitcoin was, and you still can copy what Bitcoin is. However, you can't change the trust element of people then buying into that. So essentially, you can do whatever you want. You can copy it, you can try to break it, but it goes down to what what the masses actually want to go ahead and do, because Bitcoin Cash or old Bitcoin, is exactly the same, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it all. So it's the fork, but the actual Bitcoiners would go onto it'd be the secondary,
original,
the original. Yeah. So it'd be like, fuck your WEF Bitcoin.
Yeah,
I'll claim my coins over here, and I'll sell off my WEF ones, and I'll buy more of a proper Bitcoin. Yeah. So the trust is probably the most key point. Like, I didn't go into in detail with Bitcoin sluts, so I don't think they got over the idea that it wasn't. They just said it's not possible. Pretty much was their answer. Whereas this was, they might try it at some point.
Yeah, it's not impossible, but it's the fundamentals behind it afterwards of what the reality of it would actually be.
Yeah, I think it is actually probable that this will happen at some point, because as they're failing, I think they will go to co-opt a load of Bitcoin miners and try and fork the coin and to something that is more controllable. But essentially, even though they have 90% of the hash power, behind that is one user, and it's the government. And the millions of real Bitcoiners are in the 10%. So even though they have 90%, we only have 10. Whatever coin we end up with at the side, that's the coin we continue to transact with. We dump the WEF coin and we exchange it into the new Bitcoin coin, and we carry on. And this is the new coin. And now they have to come attack us here. And it's just whack-a-mole. We just keep moving as a community and go, unless it's Satoshi's code, go fuck yourself.
It's very clever. It is so clever how we've done things like this. Like, I was going through with a friend of mine who's not 100% on Bitcoin, but I think I've started to orange pill them. And it was going on to the Lightning Network about the cost involved, transferring money, the fact that debit cards and credit cards have got hidden money behind them. And it's just the way which Bitcoin was set up in the first place is just so clever. And it kind of goes back to our first story. You've had all these shit coins come along and try and replicate or better what Bitcoin's done. But Satoshi has done something which, which even if we didn't have Bitcoin right now, I don't think we could really comprehend all those technicalities and I don't know how you describe them, like almost twists which he's factored in to stop it being taken over by governments and corporations.
Yeah, it's I think the official term is the game theory. He's worked through every single kind of game theory that can happen, and every single attack and every single scenario that can happen with money and happen with a kind of a coded protocol.
But what would you do if Satoshi actually turns out to be Klaus?
I'd say thank you. You fucked yourself, mate. Like, well done. You played yourself.
Yeah, classic. Well done. You played yourself.
Like, it actually was his thought was to create the sovereign individual, because somehow that fits into his Nazi plans.
Yeah, I somehow think that Klaus is very high on the #1 list of the least likely Satoshi people, I suppose. Yeah, but I like that debate. It was good seeing it.
It's getting me thinking. It's understanding all the aspects of Bitcoin, and two conversations, one via Twitter and one via Signal with a friend. It just makes you think of all these and just rethink.
But these are the things that I think people should think about, and not just just think, well, it could never happen, and what if, or not if, what happens when?
I mean, it may not be possible through energy or getting hold of miners at the moment to actually take over a Bitcoin network to get that 91%. So it may be a fair point from Bitcoin slut. But yeah, thinking about it and what the possibilities are, and I'm sure that the WEF have probably thought about doing it, and the US, IMF, Fed have probably thought about doing it as well at some point.
Yeah, because the beautiful thing is when you actually allow yourself to think about it, you go, you didn't break Bitcoin by doing it.
Correct.
They literally, all that happened is they would have disrupted Bitcoin for a period of time, where there'd been a period of confusion of which is the real Bitcoin. But eventually people would have realized, oh, this is the real one. That's the WEF one. This is the real one. And they'd have spent hundreds of billions for nothing, just to disrupt us for about a month. And
I probably should have continued the conversation to get it past the numbers game at first, to actually go down the to go down that route of the WEF Bitcoin versus the original Bitcoin, because I think that's the key point here.
Yeah, I like it as well, because it's like, this is why Bitcoin is different to shitcoin. Is like, we don't just kind of drink the Kool-Aid and go, Bitcoin's like invincible against everything. It's like, no, assume it gets broken on this level. Now what? And then you work through the game theory and you go, look, we're still good. It's fine. They've attacked us on this layer. They take the BTC kind of name and they take the main chain. We are now a sub fork of the chain, but provided all the users go there, and they obviously will, because this is the chain that we all want as a software.
So what do we call the sub fork of Bitcoin? Bitcoin pleb?
Yeah, it probably would be something like that. Yeah.
But in essence, though, like you may say, it might be a good thing for it, because then it would actually show the resiliency of Bitcoin as well. So if and when it happens, like, for example, how these shitcoins will die along the way and people will unfortunately get wrecked, but they were told, if they were listening to pod number 57 and the 56 previously, that if you obviously delve into that, they will all go to zero, just like fiat will go to zero. But then they can then learn the hard way, albeit, that Bitcoin was the ultimate one.
I think at present, kind of going into this, probably on a little bit of a tangent, like it's not really possible with the energy with current computing, but they've always talked about the next generation of computers. I can't remember what they call the processors, but there's a particular name.
Quantum.
Possibly quantum computing.
Yeah.
So I think
that's amazing. Yeah.
There's something which I've been talking about for years, and it's, imagine if Microsoft made something like, and of course Booby Bell is going to want to get in on Bitcoin with Klaus. So it is a possibility, but it could be attacked in that way, that the miners are only limited to a certain point. They develop technology which could actually hammer it with a lot less energy. So, but yeah, we've kind of answered the question, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what Booby Bill does.
Booby Bill.
He has got some nice
with
titties.
all that money, he could get a personal trainer, right? Or even just a chef to make sure that you're eating healthy. But Booby Bill is putting on some weight in his old age.
I think they're going up with inflation.
There's some brilliant photoshops about of them to make them look even more voluptuous.
Okay, so we're moving on to the next story now, which is a classic favorite of ours, Inflation Weekly. And a Dutch interviewer calls out the ECB on €8 trillion balance sheet. They say it's fine and it'll be fixed in due course. So you saw this naturally on Twitter. And I saw that there was one of two. I didn't find where the second one was, but maybe you can expand on that in terms of the story, Mr. Orlin.
Yeah. So it's just a little 2-minute video of Christine Lagarde, who's the head of the ECB, who is a famous criminal. She's been known for financial fraud in her life, and obviously got pressured into then going, you owe us, we could put you in prison for a long time, but we'll put you in front of, make you head up the European Bank instead. And fair play to the interviewer in this interview. It's a little 2-minute interview, and they show the balance sheet of the ECB, and it's just going up like a hockey stick. And according to the interview, anyway, I didn't listen to the whole interview, but he's referencing, she's just been shitting on crypto and saying how volatile that is and how dangerous like big pumps and dumps are. And then he references, does this look scary to you? Because it's the balance sheet of the ECB and it's going up extremely steeply. And what do we do about this? Because it looks like, as you said, what goes up fast also comes down fast. So what's going to happen here? Because the amount of money coming out of the ECB and the debt essentially has hit 8 trillion now. What are you going to do about it? And she just fobs him off initially and goes, "Oh, it was the pandemic, right? So what could we do? There was a global pandemic, so we had to print a load of money." He goes, "Yeah, okay." But still, how are you going to get this down? You're the head of the European Bank. You're 8 trillion in debt. What are you going to do? She just laughs at him and goes, "It'll be fine. We'll deal with it in due course." Gives no detail, which very clearly means that they have no plan and they know what's about to happen, which in reality is they know they've gone too far. They know they're past the point of no return. The only way out of this amount of money printing is more money printing until the value of that currency goes to zero. And you do a great reset.
They just wait it. They wait it out until it looks less like a bubble, and people see value in services because they've been roughly the same value for a while. That's literally what the plan is. But it's whether they can control themselves to kind of like, it's whether they're willing to wait up that 2 or 3 years, or whether they're going to.
They're marching towards 2030.
Yeah. Or it's whether they just go, fuck it, let's just print ourselves so we have to deal with this in 2 years' time. And then they print again, we'll deal with this in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
It's disgusting how I respect the interviewer. Like it's one of the few times I've seen someone like Christine Lagarde be questioned like this. He actually pushed her because she kind of fobbed him off a couple of times. He went, "No, really, how are you going to get this debt down?" And
in due course.
She laughs at him. She literally just smirks.
Yeah, just watching it now.
I couldn't work out where, like, I watched it and was a part of me just thinking, this is, either incompetence or she just doesn't give a fuck. And she's just like, meh.
It's the last one.
And it's like, you're an absolute bunch of plebs. I can't give a shit what you think. And like, the first time I just saw it, I thought, maybe she's just that stupid. Then I'm like, no, she's in this position for a reason.
She knows what graph means.
It said she had, so basically she tried to divert the blame. So she's within the first 4 months due to COVID. We had to do this because otherwise the economy would have collapsed. But the answer is, well, why did you lock down on something which is not scientifically proven to work for anything? And also lock down on something which you didn't understand and you've admitted did not need a lockdown. So that's literally, why have you done such a severe action, which has caused an economy to basically be on its knees? Yes. So it goes back to, this kind of topic, which we've talked about many times, the economy has collapsed or would have collapsed due to lockdown policies.
But it would have actually collapsed without that.
Oh yeah, it's always every 10 years or so, isn't it?
Since 1971, we've been on this hockey stick of inflation. And we've never had like a real proper hyperinflation collapse of either the euro, pound, or dollar, but it's coming. The hockey stick has been coming. And if anything, they've hidden behind COVID, and now they're hiding behind Putin and going, that's the reason for all inflation. And you go, well, hold on, you're that's only the last 4 years. What about this 50 before it?
Yeah, how come it's all
straight up?
There's always a trigger event. So if you go 92, I can't remember what was the trigger event for that. Then it was 2001, which was a dot-com bubble. Then it was 2008, which was a housing crisis. And then we had a bit of a longer period after that. So we went 2020, which was lockdowns.
Yeah.
So there's always an event which triggers it, and it's roughly every 10 years. So we've had 12, 13 years between the housing crash and the lockdown / Putin, which are blaming, but we know that we're already going into massive inflation before Putin, so you can't even bring that into the conversation. It's just dishonest. You know, we talked about this last week with Klarna. It's dishonest to blame it on that when you're going to shit before.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the ones you just described there, I would actually put them historically, when you zoom out over hundreds of years, if you can go into the future, they're minor corrections. Potentially, what's coming is the proper collapse.
But it's when it happens, it's whether we just end up being another minor correction, but it's a bigger correction at the moment because we've got inflated currency. It's, you know, and we've printed so much money. And then in 10 years' time, we get an even bigger one. It's just which one is it going to implode on?
Yeah, of course. Well, it was in 94 that there was a bond market crash that was in the US, but in 1992 there was an Indian stock market crash. I don't know if it affected the world.
Okay. So it's 94
the same
then.
world. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. There's these events that happen each and every time, and you know. You're right, there was a longer period between 2007, 2008 before we had another event, but every 10 years, give or take, there is some sort of event. And so it would be bang on the money, in line with, as we've been talking and we kicked off the show, in terms of the WEF and Klaus's plans of you will own nothing and be happy in 2030, that something again might happen. Don't know what it is, but just be prepared.
I know that before this all kicked off, I was becoming a little bit tetchy because it was overdue. You know, like 2019, it's like, why hasn't it happened already? Things are going to shit faster, but it still hasn't happened. And we were just waiting for something to kick off. But kind of going into the question, he said, how do you bring it down? It will come. It will come in due course, which basically means we can't do anything apart from wait for everything to settle. That's the actual answer to this. But it's whether they just keep on printing to hide it.
Well, the real answer is, like, how do you undo inflation? Are they going to burn a load of money? Are they going to set fire to a load of euros?
Oh, no, I'm talking about it's settling. It's settling so things become normal and people start spending again.
Yeah. So the graph's gone straight up. So you're then going, what you need to do is then just stay steady, which is still at the crazy high level, but then to go up again. So so you normalize high prices. So you normalize high prices of goods, high prices of energy, food, energy, petrol. You normalize the prices at a very high level, and then you just
wages slowly start to rise to try and catch up, and then they just go on another printing frenzy because I don't know, we've had an Ebola breakout.
Yeah, there's always a reason, right? But his question was, when you bring it back down, and she went, in due course. I was like, no, it's not happening in due course.
But due course
will not happen.
But due course is we're going to have to wait for things to normalize. But she can't explain a way out. It is really, really bad.
Yeah, well, it's a lie, because even when it normalizes, by normalizing, what we mean is you get used to high prices. It doesn't come back down.
Oh yeah. I'm not trying to say
the new normal.
It is the normal. But then what I particularly hated about this video is it then goes to a Q&A, and someone asks her whether she or anyone or her son or something has invested in crypto. She said her son has. He won't tell me how much he's lost.
Yeah,
he could have bought in fucking 2012 into Bitcoin and be a fucking billionaire, but she won't admit that.
Yeah, exactly.
But that just shows you, doesn't it? Even the head of the ECB bank, her own son, thinks she's full of shit and is dollaring in on shit coins.
Yeah, because there's no parent that would have been a good parent in her eyes, I guess, if her own son's doing what she's moaning about and complaining about.
She's making tens, if not hundreds of millions of people poor and even die.
Yeah, and her own son is yellowing into shitcoins.
I wonder if he's a Luna boy.
Mummy will save him, won't she?
It's weird because I think she did actually come out of character a little bit when she admitted that her son does that, because it just totally.
But I felt that it was more like this: you get punished for investing in crypto. I thought it was not something which was I thought it fitted the narrative personally.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Like, she was obviously shitting on it because she didn't even get asked about how much he lost. She got asked how did he do, and she straight away went, I don't know how much he's lost. Like, well, how do you know he lost if you didn't know how much? He might have made.
He might have made millions, billions on Bitcoin, and he's balling with some an 8-ball and some hookers.
Yeah, because it might well be the fact that he has got a mum that is very tied into the financial market. She's explained it to him. He's gone, fuck, I need to YOLO into Bitcoin because this thing's going to come down like a ton of bricks. And
he's also just said, Mum, you just don't get it. Just go to work.
It's kind of, I don't know, if I was the head of the ECB, for example, shilling this, I would not admit that my kids even fluttered in that market. I'd be like, no, my kids are sensible. They have a pension. They invest in bonds. I would be doing the party line. Yeah, but she kind of like slipped a little bit, I think, and went, oh, he does invest in shitcoins. Oh, he lost money. But yeah, he's literally doing the exact opposite of what I told him. Shit. Because everything that I say is absolute bollocks. No one believes it. And
it might be something which Sir Neverlook shared to the chat, the list of stock market crashes. It might be worth sharing that into the show notes.
Yeah,
I think that's really interesting because it's all the time. You can pick out the key events which usually center somewhere around America, and how it's just something should be so little, but because we're leveraging debt left, right, and center, it literally fucks the whole system.
It would be good to do a whole show on that. I'd like to take that on actually, and lift that.
You do that. So I'll try and pull my finger out to sort out the security.
Yeah, definitely. I've saved it into my favorites right next to my world debt clock as well.
You love that clock.
Every episode should feature the debt clock. But talking of obviously losing more money, we're going on to our next story, second to last, which is our Shitcoin Corner story of the comic maker saying that they don't do NFTs. So if you bought one, it was a scam. Lol.
Also, lol.
I love the lol at the end, because I love whenever reading anything online. It's a little bit of insight. I always love to delve into the comments. All the tea is in the comments, and someone replied back saying, "Oh, effectively, why are you laughing at somebody losing money and?" kind of explain it to us. Well, you shouldn't have been so dumb, right?
Yeah, he says, don't know why you have to add the also lol at the end there. Shouldn't glorify vulnerable people being scammed. Let's go. NFT bros losing money is funnier than any of our comics.
I genuinely laughed out loud when I read that first time. It's brilliant.
Cyanide and Happiness, which is so they're Explosum. At Explosum on Twitter, like absolute fucking legends. I remember these guys, like these were one of the first websites I ever found when I found the internet. When you don't really know what websites are really. Like, they were literally one of the very first websites I bookmarked and used to go on there every day and see what their latest comic was. And it was always funny, just literally stick characters, just doing random things like 3 to 6 little panes of animation. And yeah, I would fully have expected them to try to cash in on the NFT craze and shield them out. But yeah, and someone obviously has. Someone has put Cyanide and Happiness NFTs out there, and they're just clarifying it to go, look, if you've got one and you bought one of the Cyanide and Happiness NFTs, it ain't us. So you got scammed, but also lol.
It's on some website called Nextdrop. It used to have a page on what's it called, OpenSea, but they've removed it. So they obviously seen a tweet. But next drop have not, and this one is come up for a bargain of 0.044F, and there's only 1,111 items available.
0.04 ETH.
Yeah, the prices are dropping out because all the other ones, which I'm seeing listed, are like 0.1. So yeah, it looks like the NFT market is dying finally.
Jesus, do you know how much that's £1,500?
Yeah.
0.01.
Yeah, 0.04. Yeah.
What for ETH? I thought ETH was about $1,000 at the moment.
Oh no! Oh, sorry, no, 68 pounds.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Sorry, the price of ETH is 1,500. 0.04 is 68 quid. Yeah, 68
just
quid.
Having
an NFT that is just a picture of a comic that is not affiliated with the actual creators.
I just had a quick look on OpenSea for general ones, and there's one called Goblin Town, and they look like top bids are 3.2 ETH on these quite consistently. So people are still spending money on them, but not the ridiculous amounts which you saw during the peak.
But fair play. I must admit, I really respect people like this that have not cashed in and they're just laughing at NFTs and how ridiculous they are. These are genuine artists. They have genuine creativity. They've been pumping out comics every day for years and decades.
Yeah.
And for them,
2005,
just to put two fingers up at the NFT market and just laugh at it and go, "You fucking morons." I love people like this. They are proper balls. That they know who they are. They know it's bollocks. They could have done a cash grab. These guys could have made millions out of doing NFTs out of their comics because these guys are morons. They would have bought them, but they've just gone, nah, it's bollocks. We're not doing that. We're going to be legit. We respect our audience. We're going to make them laugh. We're not going to sell them stupid JPEGs of our own comics. Like, our comics are here to be laughed at, and so just they're there. Like, you don't have to buy an NFT version of it. It's bollocks.
Yeah. As it says, this is a great way to handle the situation and protect your fans. We hope to see more artists publicly state they aren't doing NFTs. There you go.
We need more people like this. We've seen so many brands. We've seen football clubs, pop stars, everyone that comes, that gets proposition to go, look, here's a couple of million quid, do an NFT sale. And in reality, all they're doing is cashing in, is scamming their followers and their fans. Yeah. And these guys have gone, no. It's nice to see people that just say no occasionally and just call it out for what it is, which is just a cash grab. They're literally just trying to cash in on their fans. And these guys have gone, no, we respect our fans. We'll sell them merch and we'll do all that. But they get merch for that. If you buy a cup or a t-shirt from us, you get a fucking t-shirt and you pay $15 for it or whatever. Don't buy an NFT for £68 from some random guy. It's not us. And don't buy those JPEGs. Just don't buy them.
Cool. And finally, Drake is still shilling stake.com and on a lucky spin, you could say. Was it luck or was it planned? Who knows? But he won 616 Bitcoin in one spin and gave away 35 Bitcoin at the time. Then lost the rest gambling. As we say in the video, pure craziness. Now, I watched the video. It's worthwhile watching it. As you know, all the show notes are linked. So take a look. 30 seconds of him placing a bet on a roulette wheel, and Drake's lucky number is 11. Puts it on, lo and behold, it comes in. He gives away $1 million worth of Bitcoin to fans watching, and then gambles the rest away. Like, this guy's different. Now, I looked at Drake's net worth, right? So his net worth, if I remember correctly, it was in Forbes. They were saying based on his age of 35, 216 million. So it's, you know, it's quite a lot in terms of percentage wise of, you know, 20 million to, it's just under what, 10% that he won in a spin.
But he's sponsored, isn't he? This isn't even his money. This is just, let's do an advert. How much is it going to cost? I know. You give me 500 grand of free money, I'll bet it and we'll just film it.
Well, great publicity. This is interesting because of the job that we do. I know that Stake didn't know that Drake was a player until the Super Bowl.
Oh.
So when he did the gamble, then they were like, "Oh my gosh, we need to KYC Drake." So they did it. Lo and behold, he checked out. But I do think that there may now be some collaboration between them because this is the first time together. Because in the past he's been at his house and just going on live, but now I think you're absolutely right. There could be some sort of, yeah, we'll do this and you do that, and naturally we'll get more players if Drake is betting with Stake officially.
Yeah, when you go in the comments, there's a lot of skeptical people that think, hold on, they let him win basically 20 million, and then he gave out $1 million, but they reckon it was to fake accounts that didn't get the money anyway, and then he then proceeded to lose 19 million back. So then basically just went, that was what he was told to do, kind of, because he put all his money on number 11. He surrounded the number 11 in the video, didn't he? Yeah. He put a load of money on number 11 and then surrounded it, spanned the wheel, and he bet $1 million just on that. And then it landed right on number 11, won 20 million off the back of it. And it's just a bit like that would have been a very short stream, wouldn't it, with Drake on it? They gave him $1 million and he just smashed it all on number 11 pretty quick. And because it came in, he then took ages to then lose it. He had like peaks and troughs, but he never had a big win again. Yeah. It was just down only from there. So there's a lot of people going, was that a real win? Was the giveaway real? And then he lost it all back to the house. Essentially was the entire thing. Drake just got paid to be there, got given some fake money. It was fake spins, fake giveaways. Maybe the whole thing's fake, but who knows? There's a lot of Bitcoin, and I like the fact it's all denominated in Bitcoin. And but Drake seems to be very deep in the Bitcoin streets. The thing is, like, who knows what his net worth really is? Because I think people's net worth tends to be denominated in kind of like what their official earnings are. But if he's then put those earnings into things like Bitcoin, he could have easily 10x that.
Easily.
So who knows how much he's actually got, because he seemed pretty excited when he won 20 million, but not that excited.
The excitement for me, I know he used to be an actor, but that looked real.
Yeah.
It looked real to me.
And then he lost it all though.
Yeah.
I'm like, so if you're that excited, why do you just sit there and just lose it all?
Yeah.
Just cash out, right? They gave you that 3 million, just at least cash out a couple of mil. I'd have walked away at 5 at least. But he just carried on just pressing spin and just lost every single. Seems a bit sus, but
Dr. Evil 10% is not impressed whatsoever on that one.
It's just the opposite of what Bitcoin stands for. The time preference. I just kind of go, I know he's got lots of money, but say if he's got 200 million, he bets $1 million. You kind of go, I just kind of go, it's just waste. If it's a bit of sport, he doesn't care. Why not just 10 grand? 10 grand's a sizable amount to everyone else. For Drake, it'd just be like pocket change.
That's why it's not a bet, isn't it? That's why if you're a gambling person and you want to get the blood going, it has to be meaningful.
Yeah.
So it's why everyone that bets, it's why I don't gamble anymore. When I was poor, I used to gamble a bit, but once the stakes got higher, I realized putting 10, 20 pounds on something, I don't even care. So I've got to raise the stakes. And I've gone, no, that's silly. I'm not going to be betting that type of money on random events that I don't control the outcome for. So I stopped gambling. Whereas if you carry it on and it's seemingly Drake has, you end up betting millions just to get the blood going, because it doesn't matter if you win or lose if it's not that high.
It's interesting you say that.
Would there be a betting company which would take your stakes now? I mean, being $1 trillion man.
I bet 400 million.
So we went to races, and literally my bets were tops of a £5, or maybe I did, each way. So I think I bet probably about 50 quid in total. I was up by the end of the day, but literally that was it. That was my budget. I kind of went, I don't want to spend more. People are like, why are you putting such small bets on? I was just like, I don't want to win money. This is just a bit of fun. This isn't, I think lots of people go, oh, if you bet like this, you could get like 1,400 or back or something like that. But I'm like, I'm not looking at this as an income. I'm looking at it as a bit of enjoyment, just to go, can I win some money? I was up by £20 for the end of the day. So it's not, breaking, but it's a bit of fun.
I took a lot of joy from that day in not betting at all.
None at all.
Zero, my friend. I did virtual bets.
That's some
and
good
I
time
virtually
preference.
said I would if I was a gambling man in this race, I'd go for this horse, and I lost. I think I got 1 out of 5 of the races.
So
and,
I bet on 2, which was the favourite, and then local jockeys. So check, like the course is the other way around.
Yeah, it's anti-clockwise. Yeah.
So apparently local jockeys have an advantage, and also because of something else, it's the so many stalls. So it was basically bet on the favourite and bet a local who's within those stalls. And so that's what I bet on. I was, like I said, £20 up. It wasn't breaking, but I was just like, it's a bit of sport, a bit of fun. But I know people are betting a lot of money.
Yeah. But yeah, my low time preference is very disciplined. And so, all day. And I came away extremely happy.
I thought, I'm not spending anything, so I might as well have a bit of a budget. Yeah. But I was tight. Do you know anyone who lost a lot of money?
No, they wouldn't say. No one else.
The only people I know, apparently they won a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's only the winners that shout, right?
Yeah. And it can always guarantee the winners they're degenerate gamblers. They'll be thousands down the weekend before. They won 500 quid today, but they're not up. They're always down. Yeah.
Well, the real winners are those that came to the end of this show and pod 57, because this has been business back to normal, right? We have had Mr. All In, aka the $1 trillion man. We've had Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ. Myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. And she was here, but she was never here. Mrs. No Show. And that's how you close the show.